Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we're playing Caged by a Killer. Now, the actual full name of the puzzle is Caged by a Secret Killer, which is why you see in this thumbnail is, well, Sleuth there is sitting inside a cage in some sort of warehouse, storeroom, and outside the cage is a hooded killer who's taunting him about the fact that he's captured him. Now, when I take you through the actual puzzle, it's as if this puzzle was made with this channel in mind. It's got a whole story, we're helping Sleuth escape. I'm really excited to be featuring it today on this channel. Anything else to say about this? 2-star difficulty rated. It is rated 96% as of the time of the recording. So, many reasons to look forward to today's puzzle. Let's get started. So, caged by a secret killer. And the story goes, oh no, you've been locked inside, excuse me, a Sudoku grid by a crazed maniac who gets thrills out of forcing people to complete logic puzzles. You have to use your wits, of course, as well as knowledge of some Sudoku secrets to break free. Now, the puzzle creator is not liable if the puzzle breaks during your escape. What a fantastic backstory. And you can see you've got essentially all of these cages surrounding, I don't know, is the 5 meant to be our character there in the middle? And somehow we're going to have to complete this grid and find our escape by solving this puzzle. So, the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply. That means place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. We have cells and cages summed to the total in the top left corner. Although the top left corner is letters, so we don't exactly know what that means. In this puzzle, the cage totals are given as letters, whose value must be deduced. Each of the 4 letters has a unique sum, i.e., the A can't be the same as the C, G, or E. Oh yeah, so I can see C, A, G, E kind of spelling out cage. Now, what the rules are saying is that whatever C is, it's a different value from A, G, and E. So we have 4 different sums, and we're going to have to deduce what they are. And of course, what it means is whatever these 2 cells are, they need to sum up to G. These 2 cells sum up to G, etc. They sum up to E. They sum up to A, and so on and so forth. Now, digits cannot repeat along the positive and negative diagonals. We can see these blue lines here, 2 of them. And all it's saying is that this positive diagonal, which I can't even highlight, has the digits 1 to 9 once each. And this negative diagonal, which I highlighted way better this time, has the digits 1 to 9 once each. No repeats of any of them. Cells connected by a green line must differ by at least 5, such as this one. If this was a 2, this would have to be 7, 8, or 9 to differ by 5. Really, the way to think about this is one of them is going to be a low digit from 1, 2, 3, 4. One is going to be a high digit from 6, 7, 8, 9. And you're going to have to determine why, but neither of them can be a 5. Cells connected by a white dot are consecutive, such as these 2. So if this was a 2, this would have to be 1 or 3. And the inequality sign points to the smaller of 2 digits. And I emphasize equality sign. Often people look at this and they think it's a V. Thankfully, we don't actually have an equality sign that's pointing the other way around to make that mistake. But if that was a 4, for example, this would have to be from 1, 2, or 3 to make sure it's a smaller digit than whatever is in this cell. And we've got clearly a few more inequality signs dotted throughout the grid. So, well, all I need to say now at this point is help Sleuth escape. You need to play this puzzle. We need to use the secret to, get Sleuth out of there by completing this grid. Link will be in the description down below as usual for you to play along. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. Now, I sort of have a few ideas, but okay, so the secret is clearly referring to the fact that all rows, all columns add up to 45. And if we start with that, we essentially have 4 of the letter C, so a multiple of 4, plus whatever this digit is that adds up to 45. Now, that could be 44 with a 1, and C essentially adds up to 11. If I take another 4 away from 44, that would have to put a 5, which isn't allowed because of the diagonal. And that would make C add up to 10. So that's not allowed. No 5s. Take another 4 away just to make sure that we end up with an integer. So 40 goes down to 36. That would require a 9. And the same logic basically happens in reverse here. This is starting to look like potentially a rotationally symmetrical puzzle with this setup. Because we know of the diagonals that these two are different cells. And we also know that from the rule set because the E and the C have to come up to different sums. So because one of them is a 1, one of them is a 9, one of these 4s basically sum up to 36, which is a 9, and the other one sums up to 44, which means that each cage would have to be, or the C would have to be 11. So obviously I don't know which one is which, but it's almost worthwhile somehow pencil marking what we've already used, because we know that A and G are different. Right, and this is why the white crop key dots are there. So if you think about 11, yeah, this is brilliant. This is phenomenal construction from PhoenixAki. So let's think about whether it's 11 or 9, and the answer is it actually doesn't matter. If you think about the pairs that they make, so if we think about 9, it's 1, 8, 2, 7, 3, 6, and 4, 5. Because they're odd digits, there's going to be a consecutive pair, which is what is inside that white crop key dot. And that's what this puzzle is basically pushing us to label next. If we're looking at 11, well, we can't use the 1. That would mean it's 1 and 10. But I can do 2, 9, 3, 8, 4, 7, and 5, 6. Now, the two consecutive digits use a 5, except this 5 tells us an order. These two cells are 5. These two cells are 4 or 6. Depending on whether E is 9 or 11, these two are going to be different again. Now, into the corners where we have these German whispers, eliminating the 5s, the 5 classic Sudoku, eliminating the 5 and the 5. Where can 5 go in box 3? It can only be in this cell. And I'm guessing, yep, symmetrical logic. Where can 5 go in box 7? Well, it can't be any of these cells. This has to be a 5, which is probably going to help us to think about what A and G are next. So I'm going to briefly lose this because I'm going to probably need the space to think about the possibilities. It's actually quite useful having the 5. Actually, it's worthwhile just doing some classic Sudoku quickly. So 5's not here, not there, not on the diagonal. And because of this cell, it's not here. That's another 5. 5 and 5 and the diagonal and this one. That's another 5. In the two middle boxes, we've got 5s now in here. And that's kind of all the 5s almost placed in under 5 minutes. So where was I? I've lost track of where I was. I was probably thinking about what the sums of A and G are. So that's what I want to do next. Now, by placing the 5 inside these cages, both A and G, as well as C and E, I know that none of them sum up to 10. And that's useful because I'm going to sort of write these down for a second. We've got essentially like a range of options. We need numbers that have at least 3 different pairs that add up to that sum. And 6 is too small because it can only be 1, 5 and 2, 4. So the minimum that these can sum up to is a 7 or 8 or 9. No 10s, mind you, because otherwise that would require a double 5 inside these cages. Then we skip a number basically and go straight to 11, 12, and 13. And yeah, 14 is too big again because there are only 2 ways of doing it, 5, 9, and 6, 8. So 14 is not under consideration. The 9 and 11 we've already placed. So the only remaining options for A and G is 7, 8, or 12, 13. Now, what's jumping out at me is it's almost certain, because of the presence of this 4, that A is adding up to 8. So essentially, my conjecture is this is a 4, this is a 9, A is adding up to an 8, 6, that would be a 12. So that means this would have to be a 1 because you can't use 1 inside a 12. And I want to sort of see if there's an elegant way of proving it, but I'm not sure there is. Kind of this polarity sign or greater inequality sign is sort of leading me to think about coloring the grid in polarity. I don't know if that's helpful. So the brute force way would probably to see if you can even get to some of these. Let me try this. So let me sort of show you that it can be done from here. And then if I can spot a more elegant way, I will showcase it on its own. So if it is a 7, this would be 1, 6, and 2, 5, or 3, 4. So that would mean this is the 1, 6, this is the 2, 5, and 3, 4 clearly breaks because the 4 is not available. So can't be a 7 on the A side. 8, I'm pretty confident that works. It'll be 1, 7, 2, 6, and 3, 5. And obviously we're not using the 4 because that would require a second 4 in the same cage. 12, this is 3, 9. I kind of made a mistake writing them in here. 12, 12, 13. This would be 3, 9, 4, 8, and 5, 7. So yeah, I can get the 5, 7. I can get the 3, 9, but the 4, 8 is impossible. And then for 13, well, I've got 6, 7, 5, 8, and 4, 9. And the same problem again, I have to have a pair with 4. So I can fill in the 5, 8. Can't even fill in this because that would require it would need to be a 4, 9. I can't use a 6, 7 on the German whisper line. So you can see from all the options for A, 8 is the only one that works. And I'm pretty certain if I look at this side, I'm now looking for pairs that need the 6. And 6, 7 immediately breaks for the 13. I need one of these 3 pairs available. 2, 6 is not available for 8. And 1, 6 is not available for 7. So again, this has to be 12. So that forces pretty much everything at this point, because that would have to be the 9. Can't have an 9 inside an 8 cage. That would have to be 3. We now need something that is valid on a German whisper line that adds up to an 8. That can only be 1 and 7. This has to be 2 or 6, although that 6 gives us an order with 6 and 2. And then lastly, down here is the 8 that clearly cannot belong inside an 8 cage. That 9 means that's a 1. The other part, of course, would be the 2. I don't use that as part of the sums. This would have to be 5, 7. I would need a valid German whisper line. That can only be the 3, 9. And then I'm left with a 4, 8 pair. And that 4, once again, gives me the order. So what a puzzle. I mean, it is clearly solvable from where we were. I'm just kind of really curious if there is a more elegant solution. I mean, is it worthwhile taking the time to do this now? Yeah, what are we going to do? So the other thing that I was toying with was polarity. And I don't know if I want to undo this or almost restart at the end and do this later. Yeah, I'll do it at the very end and see if there's a more elegant way than just brute forcing it like I did. But I think it's time to think about the C. Because one of them is 9, one of them is 11. I think the fact that we have the 2 and 9 out, can I even make 11 anymore with what's left? I don't think so. 11 in 4 cages, I would need to use 2, 9, 3, 8, 4, 7, and 5, 6. The fact that I've dropped the 9 out makes it impossible. And yeah, the fact that the 1 is there, one of the few digits that you can't use inside the 11, that is pushing me this way. And of course, the 9 cage, the 9 is out because you can't use it as a pair inside the 9. So that is forced again. That's 2, 7. That's 5, 4. That's a 6. This is a 3. And then we've got pairs that add up to 11 at the bottom. Now here is something that I may as well use it now, because I was sort of thinking about polarity for a bit earlier. You can see that this is a high digit. Because of the German whisper lines, you always have one low digit, one high digit. I've already got 2 lows in here. There'll be another 2 lows in there, somewhere on the German whisper line. And essentially that means that's a high digit. And the high digits that I haven't completed yet from this row is the 7 and 9. So these are 7 9s. They pair up with 4 and 2 to get to 11. So that's 2, 4, that's 2, 4. That 4 gives me an order. That's a 2, that's a 9 to get to 11. That's a 4, that's a 7. Now, I'm pretty sure, yeah, I can use the same logic. So you've got 2 high digits, 4 high digits on the German whisper line. This has to be low. The inequality tells me what else is low. I've already got 2 and 4. These two are forced with 1 and 3. And their partners to add up to 9 are going to be 8 and 6. And this is not the 6. That's the 8. That's a 1. That's a 6. That's a 3. Is that the perimeter done? Yeah, it is. 1, 7. That's not a 3. That's a 9. That's a 3. And I think the answer is yes, it is rotationally symmetrical. So essentially, if you try and rotate around the center 180 degrees, you're going to find that everything that maps onto one another adds up to 10. So 1 and 9, 2 and 8, 3 and 7, and I'm guessing 4 and 6. Yeah. So technically, we can sort of almost do just half the puzzle and the rest will sort of fill in itself. But let's carry on as we were. Since I suspected it, but I didn't use it since the beginning, we may as well just carry on as we've been solving it. Right, in here, I'm left with a 6-1 pair and a 2-9 pair. Now you can see the 2 tells me one of these is a 2, and therefore one of these is a 9. And then because of this 1, one of these is a 1, one of these is a 6. Other side, I've got 1 and 4, so the 4 goes with a 9, which incidentally is on the diagonal. Why is it on the diagonal? What forced it? Yeah, the 2 pushed it off. Got it. So that means the 9 is off the diagonal, and therefore the 4 is on the diagonal. Then we need a 1 with an 8. Have I got anything forcing something? The 8 can't be on the diagonal, so that's an 8. That's a 1. And the 1 bounces back and gives me now an order. That's a 9. That's a 2. That's a 6. That's a 1. I'm guessing we can do the same in here, and hopefully that will resolve what's going on there. I'm kind of surprised that didn't resolve already on its own like this did. Never matter. Actually, where does 3 go in box 1? That's 3. We need 7 and 4. I'll be honest, I don't see how I can resolve these just yet. Down here, I need a 3, and the 3 is not on the diagonal. That's a 3. These two cells now are 7 and 6, and that 7 gives me an order. That's 6, that's 7. Surely this is helping me resolve this now. Yeah, of course, the 9 was helping me resolve it from earlier. I don't know why I just sort of completely missed it. The 9 must be coupled with a 4 on the German whisper line. The 4 can never join anything else. That's a 1. That 4 gives me the 7 and the 4, and that's the 4 quadrants done. So really, at this point, it's just classic Sudoku. We've pretty much used all the clues except for this inequality. Well, I may as well just quickly finish this. So this is a 2-8 pair on the diagonal here. This is a 3-7 pair on this diagonal. This 4-6 has to be in here. And this is a 1-9 pair. It's actually looking like, ironically, almost like a magic square. That 1 gives me a 9, gives me a 1. That 3 gives me a 7, gives me a 3. That 4 gives me a 6, gives me a 4. And that 2-8 is unresolved, I'm going to say. I'm not seeing how I can resolve it just yet. Right, inequality sign. So a bit of Sudoku. What do we need in here? We need a 1. Can't be. Here's a kind of like a huge deduction for you. You can't have a 1 on the, the greater side of an inequality sign. So that's not the 1. That's not the 1 because of classic Sudoku. That's the 1. We need a 2 in here. That can't be the 2 anymore because, well, I don't have a 1 anymore. So that's the 2. That's an 8. That's a 2. That's an 8. That can't be a 9. I still need to place a 9. That can't be a 9 either because of classic Sudoku. That's a 9. Then I need 6 and... No, I need 7. 6 is already placed. For a second I was panicking. And a 3. And I'm guessing from here that is definitely now just plain Sudoku. So 1s, 2s, no, 2, 3, 4, hang on, 4 is placed, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Let me just see the 9 first, because it's not been placed, that's a 9. And then the 1s, 1. We've got a pair of digits in here, 2 and, well, the 2 gives me an order, that's a 2 and something, 6. Pair of digits in here, 4, 8. That 8 tells me an order, that's 8, that's 4. 4s line up now, that's got to be the 4, the 5, the 5, the 6, the 2, and if I've not made any mistakes, the 8 for the finish. What a beauty of a puzzle. I think just the sheer symmetry of it all, kind of the logic to be able to sort of solve it. I'm not sure I entirely agree with the 2-star difficulty rating. I think it's a lot more approachable than this. The only tricky bit is sort of what I brute forced earlier about trying to deduce what A and G were. So I've hearted it. Yeah, I've got a time. And it already checks the solution. So here's where you can tune out, but I am going to basically rewind and see if there is a more elegant way of deducing the sums. And this may have been a bad idea, just undoing all of these to try and get back to that deduction point. But I just didn't want to sort of try and repeat all that logic from the start to get us to where we needed to figure out what A and G were. I think we were here. Right, so let's see if I can use polarity. Is that the way we're meant to solve it? So blue, red, that 9, I don't know what it is. I'm going to give them colors in a second. Just ignore them for the moment. We said that, yeah, regardless of, I think, if you go down the polarity route or not, knowing the combinations of 11 and 9 is helpful, because essentially, aside from the 5 pair, I think easiest shown than described, every one of the options that we have in here basically have one low and one high digit. Aside, like I said, from the one exception, which is the 5 at the end. So essentially, these two cages are a combo of one high, one low. So that's low, 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 low. That's got to be a high. That is still something you can deduce from here. And I'm guessing, yeah, same logic, that these are high, these are low. reason I'm just thinking about polarity is purely because of the German whisper lines. As soon as they are on a puzzle, I immediately start to sort of think, could this be a polarity puzzle? Now that means I've got a high in this cell, and two more. That's got to be low. Obviously, the inequality is helping me again. That's got to be high. That's got to be high. And then there's a combo in here. Now, to make this row work, essentially these two cells are of a separate polarity, or opposite polarity, I should say. So whatever this cell is, which we don't know yet, let's say it's purple, this has to be different. We'll call it green. And this is obviously different from this cell. That's a green, therefore that's purple. And we basically need to sort of figure out whether purple is high or low. And I'm trying to see how can we do that from here. You see, the challenge with so I think you can easily, without having to sort of brute force it, dismiss 7 and 13. Because the 7 would require the 3, 4, and the 13 would require the 1, 6. So I think you can limit the options to essentially 8 and 12 just by realizing that there is a 4 and 6 written in. And I'm guessing 13 doesn't work because of 6, 7, doesn't work because of 4, 9. So yeah, you're limited to 8 and 12. Now, does 8 and 12 have the same setup? 3, 9, 4, 8, 5, 7. With the exception of the neutral 5, I'm guessing it's the same challenge. Sorry, I did 12 sums under here. If I try 8, it'll be 1, 7, 2, 6, and 3, 5. And again, the 5 is the only one. So I think you can make the same leap that this is a high and low because it's a German whisper line. This is a high or low. This one high low, two high lows, three lows. Am I just struggling with this? I don't know what it says about these two cells in terms of polarity. I'm going to write them out more for my benefit, just so that I can see if I can reason about them. And I'm not sure I can. So if we are going for an 8 or a 12, I mean, once you've sort of gotten to that point of detail, you may as well just brute force it. It's just, it really feels like, given how elegant everything is about this puzzle, it should have something that's, you know, not test every possibility. That doesn't sound right. So I think I've accepted that these are high-low, these are high-low. We know that this is not 1 or 9. We know in the actual solution that this is an 8. But why does this need to be high? I think is the question I'm trying to answer. Why is it high and why is that low? Yeah, I'm not sure about this. I don't think it can be solved without thinking about the options. I mean, being able to quickly dismiss the 7 and 6 just by thinking about it for a second. I don't know why I didn't do that, and I actually sort of listed all the options. So that certainly helps. And now it's purely about which one is 8 and 12. And if you're comfortable dismissing the 7 and 13 almost instantly with the 4 and 6, it becomes so obvious that you can sort of make the same mental leap and sort of realize that with the 4 out, it couldn't have been the 12. So yeah, maybe that is the intended route. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know. But I hope that you enjoyed today's puzzle video. Maybe. I think the solve was very smooth. The analysis at the end, I don't know if any of us have learned anything new necessarily, other than, sometimes I shoot in the dark and miss. And wow, it's such a phenomenal puzzle. I don't know what else would be a similar vein, but I would certainly probably suggest have a think maybe about diagonals. I'm going to recommend these next from YouTube. They can be surprisingly powerful when used correctly. See you back for the next video. Bye-bye for now.